My name is William Grant, and I thought I was heading to my daughter's house for a warm family dinner, until my lawyer sent me a message that froze the blood in my veins. Call me urgently. Before I take you deeper into what happened, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and comment below what time it is where you're watching this, because what I'm about to share might just change the way you see family forever. I was at my office, steadying my hands over the quarterly reports of Grant Dynamics, the company I had built from nothing over 30 long years. Numbers and graphs never scared me, but that message on my phone screen did. It was from Michael Cole, my lawyer, a man who never used the word emergency lightly, especially when it came to family matters. The pen slipped from my fingers. My heart kicked in my chest. I dialed immediately before the screen even dimmed. Michael? His voice came back, tight and metallic. William. I need to warn you. This is about your daughter, Emma. A strange chill spread through me. What about her? She filed a lawsuit. She wants you declared incompetent to run Grant Dynamics. The words landed like shards of glass. I nearly dropped the phone. What are you saying? That's impossible. She's my daughter. She isn't acting alone, Michael said. She's recruited a group of shareholders. They're claiming you've lost your edge due to emotional instability. I sank into my chair, staring at Seattle's skyline through the floor-to-ceiling windows. The rain blurred the city lights, but it wasn't the weather making my vision swim, it was betrayal. How much time do we have? I whispered. 1 week. The hearing is scheduled. William, she's been preparing this for months. She has documentation, financial records, testimonies, board meeting notes. They're painting you as a man, losing control. My mouth was dry. Testimonies? From who? Executives, directors. Some claim you've had emotional outbursts. That you're clinging to outdated strategies. She's making it sound like you've lost your grip. That's absurd. I snapped, but even as I said it, a thin thread of doubt slipped in. Had I shown too much passion in meetings? Had I defended old strategies too fiercely? Michael sighed. They have paperwork, William. Lots of it. She's smart, she's framing every move you made through the lens of incompetence. And she has allies, James Corbin, Patricia Wheeler, 3 others. They're meeting tomorrow. I gripped the phone tighter. My daughter, my Emma, had convinced them. How? With promises of higher dividends if she took control. The betrayal stung deeper than any business failure I'd ever faced. Emma, the same little girl who once sat on my lap while I sketched company logos. The same young woman I'd groomed for years to eventually take over. But not like this. Never like this. What do you need from me? I asked, my voice hollow. Everything. Financial records. Medical documentation, proving you're fit. Character witnesses. We're building a defense from scratch, and we've got 7 days. 7 days. 48 hours ago, I had been preparing to announce Emma's promotion to CEO within the year. Now, she was trying to bury me alive. Don't confront her yet, Michael warned. We need to understand their strategy first. Let me handle the legal side. I agreed, but after hanging up, I sat in the darkening office, staring at the skyline I had watched for decades while building this empire for her future. My empire. Our empire. It felt like it was all slipping away. I gathered my things, coat, briefcase, keys. The same routine I'd followed every night for 30 years. But this time, everything had changed. The elevator ride down 50 floors felt endless. By the time I reached the parking garage, my legs were trembling. I sat in the car for 10 long minutes, gripping the steering wheel, replaying Michael's words over and over. Emma had filed to have me declared incompetent. In 1 week, I could lose everything. And the cruelest part? I was expected at her house for dinner. Our weekly family tradition. Roast chicken, laughter, my granddaughter's drawings on the fridge. Should I go? Should I smile across the table while she sharpened the knives to cut me down in court? Or should I face her, study her, and see who my daughter had become? I started the engine, headlights slicing through the rain. Seattle traffic swallowed me whole as I drove toward Bellevue. Toward Emma. Toward answers I wasn't sure I wanted. By the time I pulled into her driveway, my chest was heavy with questions. The front door opened before I could knock. There she was, Emma. Cream sweater, bright smile, arms open wide. Dad. Right on time. Her hug felt rehearsed. Her smile was perfect, practiced. Come in, it's freezing, she said warmly. I studied her face, searching for cracks in the mask. But all I saw was control. Her husband, Trevor, was setting the table. He shook my hand a little too tightly, a little too long. Good to see you, William. Can I get you a drink? Wine. Something stronger. Wine's fine, I said, my voice steady though my heart was not. Then came a voice that melted the ice inside me. Grandpa. It was Sophie, my granddaughter, bounding into the room in paint-stained overalls. She leapt into my arms, thrusting a crayon drawing into my hands. It's us at your office. See, that's you at your big desk. And that's me in the spinning chair. Her innocence was pure. Genuine. A picture of love in a house filled with lies. I kissed her forehead, blinking away the sting in my eyes. It's beautiful, sweetheart. But as I looked up, I caught Emma watching us. And for the first time, I saw something flicker across her carefully built mask, something sharp, calculating. And that's when I knew. Dinner tonight wasn't going to be about family. It was going to be about war. Tonight I sat across from my own daughter, wondering how long she had been planning to destroy me. The smell of roasted chicken filled Emma's kitchen, but all I could taste was betrayal. She moved around the stove with the same precision I'd once admired in the boardroom, efficient, calm, calculating. Her husband Trevor poured my wine, his hands shaking slightly. Maybe he knew. Maybe he didn't. I tried to focus on Sophie, my granddaughter, who was now showing me her latest crayon masterpiece. This is your office, Grandpa. And this is Mommy helping you. I smiled, though the drawing cut me deeper than she could ever know. If only Emma truly wanted to help me, instead of replace me. Dad, Emma said suddenly, her eyes flicking to me as she set the platter of chicken on the table. You look tired. Are you sure you're not overworking yourself? It was a casual question, but loaded with meaning. I set my wineglass down slowly. Work keeps me sharp. Her spoon paused halfway to her mouth, just for a fraction of a second, before she recovered. Well, maybe you should rest more. Her tone was light. Too light. Like she was probing me, testing how fragile I might appear. Since when did dinner become an evaluation? We sat at the table. Trevor carved the chicken, making small talk about his latest architectural project. Sophie chattered happily about preschool. And through it all, Emma kept asking me small, careful questions. About my sleep. My appetite. My energy. Every word felt like reconnaissance. Mom always said cooking was about love, not perfection, Emma remarked as she served me a piece of chicken. My throat tightened. She was talking about Elena, my late wife. Emma's mother. Yes, I said softly. She was wise about many things. Emma's fork clicked against her plate. Her jaw tightened. She understood priorities. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Sophie looked between us, sensing tension she couldn't name. Grandpa, why are you sad? She asked suddenly. My chest ached. Out of the mouths of babes. I'm not sad, sweetheart. Just thinking. Thinking about what? About how much I love our family dinners. Emma's eyes locked with mine across the table. And for one fleeting moment, I saw her, the little girl who used to wait by the window when I came home late, who begged me to tell her bedtime stories even when I was exhausted from 12-hour workdays. But just as quickly, the moment vanished. Her gaze hardened again. Trevor refilled my glass with nervous energy. More wine. The evening dragged on. Sophie's laughter was the only genuine sound in that house. Emma and Trevor moved through routines like actors in a play. Dinner. Dessert. Coffee. Polite smiles. At 8:15, I stood. Thank you for dinner. As always, it was perfect. Emma followed me to the door, her cream sweater glowing in the warm foyer light. Dad, are you sure you're okay? You seem different tonight. Her concern looked genuine. It might have been. Or maybe she had convinced herself this was all for my own good. I studied her face, the daughter I had raised with everything I had. And yet, she was preparing to bury me alive in court. I'm fine, I said quietly. Just reflecting on how much Grant Dynamics means to me. To our family. Something flickered across her face, almost like guilt. Then, quickly, her mask snapped back into place. Drive safe, she said softly. The roads are slick. I kissed her cheek. She didn't pull away. She didn't lean in either. Good night, Emma. Good night, Dad. The door closed behind me with a soft click. I stood there on her porch, rain dripping from the eaves, watching her silhouette through the window as she cleared the dishes. Efficient. Methodical. Planning my destruction. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the wheel. My phone buzzed. It was Michael again. How was dinner? He asked. Like a performance, I said bitterly. She knows how to act concerned while stabbing me in the back. William, you need to know, she's been preparing for 6 months. She has records of your supposed emotional outbursts. Meetings. Financial decisions she's painting as sentimental. What decisions? The Anderson acquisition. You refused their lowball offer. She documented it as irrational, anger-threatening company relationships. And your partnership with Elena's charity foundation. The employee retention program. She's claiming those were emotional choices, not business ones. I gripped the wheel tighter. Those were good decisions. The right decisions. I know, Michael said. But she's twisting them into evidence of decline. And William, if she wins next week, she gets temporary control of Grant Dynamics. While you undergo psychological evaluation. I started the engine, headlights cutting through the rain. My daughter had thought of everything. But she underestimated one thing. She thought she was playing against a weak, grieving old man. She forgot who taught her how to fight. The night after that dinner, I opened an envelope that nearly crushed me. The rain hadn't stopped. It tapped against the windows of my study as I sat at my desk, staring at the screen of my laptop. An encrypted email had just arrived from Michael. Read carefully, his message said. Attached were 47 pages of legal filings. Emma's lawsuit. I poured myself 3 fingers of scotch and began to read. Every page was a knife. Subject, William Grant. Evidence of declining mental competence. They were using my grief against me. Elena's death, the hardest chapter of my life, had become Exhibit A in my daughter's case. Subject displays increasing emotional volatility following spousal loss. Attachment to outdated business practices suggests diminished cognitive flexibility consistent with early-stage dementia or depression. Depression? Dementia? I slammed my glass down so hard the liquid splashed. How dare they reduce 30 years of sacrifice, vision, and leadership to a medical footnote? But it wasn't just medical speculation. Emma had been meticulous. Meeting transcripts, marked, highlighted. Instances where I had raised my voice. Instances where I had insisted on protecting long-term strategies over short-term profits. Exhibit 12, Anderson Acquisition. Subject's irrational refusal jeopardized potential merger. Exhibit 19, Employee Retention Program. Excessive spending on loyalty bonuses framed as emotional indulgence. Exhibit 27, Charitable Partnership with the Elena Foundation. Unprofitable sentimental expenditure. Every decision I had made, even the ones that proved wise in the long run, had been twisted into evidence of instability. I pushed back from the desk, pacing the room. My study was filled with the artifacts of a life spent building something from nothing. Awards, photographs, framed newspaper articles. My wife's picture smiling down at me. And now, my own daughter wanted to erase it all. I opened the safe in the corner of the room and pulled out a bundle of letters. Elena's letters. Written during her final months, when cancer had taken her strength but not her clarity. One of her lines burned in my memory: "She thinks you don't love her. She thinks you love the company more." I had dismissed it at the time. I thought Emma understood. I thought she knew that every late night, every missed recital, every cancelled vacation was for her. For our family's future. But now I wondered if that doubt had been growing inside her all along. I sank back into my chair, the papers spread before me. Emma's legal team wasn't just attacking my business decisions. They were dismantling me as a man. Character witnesses. Board members who had apparently agreed to testify that I'd grown erratic in recent years. Financial analysts prepared to argue my strategies were nostalgic, not pragmatic. Medical experts. Ready to say I needed compassionate intervention. It was a full-scale character assassination, wrapped in concern for my well-being. And leading her case was Laura Blake. Michael had warned me about her. 38 wins in 42 competency hearings. A woman who specialized in turning family disputes into theater. Courtrooms were her stage, and she knew how to make fathers look like fragile old men. I stared at her photograph on my screen, sharp cheekbones, eyes like blades, a smile that belonged more to a predator than an attorney. Laura Blake wasn't just going to argue that I was unfit. She was going to humiliate me. Publicly. My hands shook as I reached for my pen. But then, slowly, deliberately, I began to write. Names. Allies. People who could testify on my behalf. Long-term partners, employees who'd stayed with the company for decades, competitors who respected my work. Then strategies. Financial data that proved our success. Growth percentages. Employee retention numbers. Customer satisfaction scores. If Emma wanted to fight this as a battle of perception, then I would arm myself with facts, sharp, undeniable, relentless. By the time the grandfather clock struck 1 in the morning, I had filled 3 pages. I leaned back, exhaustion pulling at me, but for the first time since Michael's call, I felt something stir inside me. Not fear. Not despair. Fight. Emma thought she could strip me of my empire by parading grief and twisting narratives. She thought she could make the world believe I was weak. But she had forgotten. I hadn't built Grant Dynamics by surrendering to storms. I had built it by outthinking them. By outlasting them. And if she wanted war, she was going to get it. The rain outside intensified, hammering the glass like a drumbeat of war. I closed the laptop, but I didn't sleep. I couldn't. Because every time I closed my eyes, I saw Emma's face across that dinner table. Calm. Controlled. And I knew this was only the beginning. By the 3rd day of this storm, I knew one thing for certain: I couldn't win this alone. The lawsuit wasn't just words on paper. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign, a machine designed to grind me down until there was nothing left but doubt. My daughter may have been the face of it, but Laura Blake was the hand that guided the blade. And if I was going to survive, I needed my own army. That morning, I met Michael in a quiet corner booth at Harrington's, a downtown steakhouse where the waiters knew us by name but never by business. The blinds were half drawn, the room dim except for the faint glow of brass lamps. Michael slid a leather folder across the table. "It's worse than I thought," he said. Inside were affidavits. Statements from 3 board members, 2 former executives, even one of my own assistants, all claiming they'd witnessed signs of decline. "They're not just going after your control of the company," Michael continued. "They're trying to bury your reputation. If this goes public, your name becomes synonymous with incompetence." I felt my jaw tighten. "So what you're saying is, my daughter isn't just trying to replace me. She wants to erase me." Michael didn't answer, but his silence said everything. I leaned back, fingers steepled. "Then it's time we stop playing defense." He raised an eyebrow. "You want to countersue?" "No," my voice was steady. "I want to prove, without a shadow of doubt, that I am the most competent man in that boardroom. And I want to remind everyone exactly who taught Emma how to fight in the first place." Michael studied me for a long moment, then smirked. "That's the William Grant I know." That night, I called an old friend, Daniel Pierce, my co-founder. We hadn't spoken much since Elena's funeral. Too many missed calls, too many excuses. But when his deep, gravelly voice answered, I felt a flicker of hope. "William," he said. "I was wondering when you'd call." We met in his study, a room cluttered with books and blueprints from the company's early days. Daniel looked older, heavier, but his eyes were still sharp. "She's going for the jugular, isn't she?" he asked. I nodded. "She's hired Blake." Daniel whistled low. "Then you're in trouble." "Not if you stand with me," I said. Daniel hesitated. "Emma reached out to me. Promised me a seat on the board if I supported her. Said she'd honor the original vision better than you could." For a moment, I thought I'd lost him. My heart sank. But then Daniel leaned forward, his expression hardening. "But I didn't build this company with her. I built it with you. And I know damn well you're not finished yet." Relief washed over me. One ally secured. In the days that followed, I quietly gathered more. Loyal employees. Longtime partners. Even clients who'd seen firsthand that my strategies weren't relics of the past, they were the reason we still dominated the market. Each conversation strengthened me. Each pledge of support reminded me that I wasn't some fragile old man clinging to memories. I was William Grant, and I still had fight in me. But Emma wasn't idle either. News articles began to appear, whispers of uncertainty at Grant Dynamics, rumors of leadership instability. Anonymous sources suggested a succession plan was already underway. I knew whose fingerprints were on those leaks. Laura Blake was shaping the battlefield, laying down narrative mines before the war even began. One evening, Michael stormed into my office, a newspaper in hand. "She's going to destroy you in the court of public opinion before we even set foot in a courtroom." I didn't flinch. Instead, I turned my computer screen toward him. Financial reports. Charts. Projections. Evidence of steady growth under my leadership. "You can't fight rumor with rumor," I said. "You fight it with results." Michael studied me, then slowly nodded. Still, even as I spoke with confidence, doubt gnawed at the back of my mind. Emma wasn't just resourceful, she was my daughter. She had inherited my instincts, my ruthlessness. Every move she made was a reflection of lessons she had once learned at my side. And that terrified me. 2 nights before the preliminary hearing, I received a letter. No return address. Just my name, handwritten. Inside was a single page. "You built an empire, but you forgot the first rule, never underestimate the student." I'll see you in court, father. Don't embarrass yourself. No signature. None needed. I sat there for a long time, staring at the words. My own flesh and blood had declared war. And yet, instead of breaking me, the letter ignited something deeper. Because if Emma wanted to prove she was stronger than me, she'd chosen the wrong battlefield. Courtrooms weren't her arena. They were mine. The night stretched long, the clock ticking toward midnight. I stood at my window, looking out at the city lights. For decades, I had poured my life into this skyline, shaping its rise, feeding its growth. And I swore then, no matter how ruthless she became, no matter how sharp Blake's teeth were, I would not let Emma take it from me. Not without bleeding for it. The war had begun. I stood in front of the mirror that morning, adjusting my tie. I realized something: this wasn't just about a company anymore. It was about legacy. About blood. About whether the man who built an empire from nothing could be erased by the very child he had once carried on his shoulders. The reflection staring back at me wasn't frail, or broken, or old. It was sharpened steel. Weathered, but unyielding. And today, I was walking into war. The courthouse loomed ahead, all glass and stone, a monument to battles fought in silence. Inside, the air buzzed with quiet chaos, lawyers shuffling papers, reporters whispering into phones, security scanning briefcases. Michael walked at my side, jaw tight, eyes scanning the room like a soldier before battle. Emma and Blake are already here, he muttered. I didn't need him to point them out. I spotted my daughter immediately. Emma sat at the plaintiff's table, posture perfect, her dark hair pulled into a severe bun. She wore a tailored suit, expensive but understated, the kind of outfit that screamed competence. Her eyes, when they met mine across the room, were steady. Cold. Beside her, Laura Blake looked like a wolf in human skin, lips curved in the faintest smirk, eyes glittering with the thrill of the hunt. For a heartbeat, the world seemed to still. Father and daughter. Mentor and protégé. Opponents now, with everything on the line. Emma's expression didn't flicker. But her hand, resting on the table, curled slightly into a fist. She wasn't as calm as she wanted me to believe. Good, I thought. Fear meant there was still a piece of her that remembered I wasn't so easily beaten. The bailiff called for order. The preliminary hearing was about to begin. Michael leaned toward me. We've got our strategy tight. Don't let Blake bait you. Stay calm, stay sharp, and let the evidence speak. I nodded, though I barely heard him. My focus was on Emma. As the judge entered, all rose. Papers shuffled, murmurs died. The war had begun. Blake made the opening move, her voice a silken dagger. Your Honor, she began, this case isn't about greed. It isn't about power. It's about protection. Protection of a company that has thrived under William Grant, yes, but now suffers under his inability to adapt. My client, his daughter, doesn't want to destroy her father. She wants to preserve his legacy by ensuring Grant Dynamics survives beyond him. Each word landed like a carefully crafted blow. Reasonable. Logical. Almost noble. And yet, beneath the polished delivery, I could hear the venom. I kept my face unreadable, though inside, my blood boiled. When Michael rose to respond, his words were precise. Your Honor, the plaintiff will argue decline. We will show growth. They will argue incompetence. We will show strategy. This isn't about legacy. This is about ambition, naked ambition, and a daughter willing to destroy her father to satisfy it. Murmurs rippled through the courtroom. I saw Emma's jaw tighten. Blake leaned close to whisper something in her ear, and for the first time, I saw Emma's mask slip. Just slightly. But enough. The judge called for evidence. Financial records. Shareholder reports. Testimonies. Michael laid down charts, graphs, projections, proof of continued growth under my hand. Solid, undeniable. But Blake was ready. She pulled out affidavits, letters, whispers of doubt. Testimonies from men and women I had once trusted. Every piece was a knife. Every name, a ghost of betrayal. And yet, through it all, I didn't falter. I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. Until she played her final card. Blake approached the bench with a thin smile. Your Honor, we also submit medical testimony suggesting Mr. Grant has shown signs of cognitive decline. Forgetfulness. Disorientation. Behaviors inconsistent with sound judgment. My stomach twisted. Emma didn't look at me. She stared at the floor, as if ashamed. But I knew better. This wasn't Blake's idea. This was hers. My own daughter had decided to paint me as senile. The betrayal burned deeper than any dagger. Michael objected, demanded cross-examination, but the damage was done. Whispers spread through the room. Reporters scribbled furiously. And for the first time, doubt flickered in the judge's eyes. I forced myself to breathe. Slow. Steady. I wasn't beaten. Not yet. Because I had one final move of my own. As the day wound down, the judge called for adjournment until morning. Papers were gathered, chairs scraped back, the buzz of voices filled the room once more. Emma stood, slipping her bag over her shoulder. For just a moment, her gaze met mine. And in that moment, I saw not the lawyer, not the enemy, but my daughter. The little girl who once sat on my shoulders during fireworks, who used to beg me for bedtime stories, who had once sworn she'd be just like me. I almost faltered. Almost. But then I remembered her letter. Never underestimate the student. And I knew. Mercy would cost me everything. So I straightened my tie, lifted my chin, and whispered to myself, time to remind her who the teacher really is. The next morning, I would walk into that room armed with more than evidence. I had allies. I had proof of my strength. And I had something Emma could never match, the experience of a man who had fought his way out of nothing. But as I pushed open the courtroom doors, ready for battle, I froze. Because sitting at the plaintiff's table wasn't just Emma and Blake anymore. There was someone else. Someone I hadn't expected. And the sight of that face nearly stopped my heart. The war had just changed.